On the edge of the human colony on Urindor, the air shimmered with a strange mix of scents: flowers that glowed faintly at night, fresh water from crystal rivers, and the earthy aroma of the alien soil. Liam ran through the fields, his bare feet kicking up small clouds of violet dust. He laughed as he darted between the towering purple trees, their thick branches swaying gently above him. The colony was new, only a few years old, but already life was bustling. Machines hummed quietly in the distance, and settlers moved between homes and laboratories, always busy. Liam had never cared much for the machines or the work of settling a new world. What he loved was exploring. The forests, the rivers, the strange creatures that peeked from behind the trees, they were all more fascinating than anything humans had left behind on Earth. But today, Liam was not alone. Elira was waiting for him near the edge of the glowing river. She sat on a smooth rock, her long limbs folded neatly beneath her. Her skin shimmered like pale liquid silver, and her eyes reflected the colors of the sky, changing with every glance. She watched Liam carefully, her gaze full of curiosity and quiet joy. Though she had been fascinated by humans since the colony arrived, none had captured her attention like Liam. "Liam, wait!" she called, her voice soft but melodic, like the ringing of small bells. Liam paused and turned. "I'm coming, you know I can run faster than you," he grinned, daring her to try to catch him. Elira stood and moved with a grace that seemed impossible for someone so tall and thin. She followed him, her feet barely touching the ground. They ran together through the forest, laughing, their voices echoing against the glowing trunks. Even the birds and small creatures seemed to pause and watch them play. After a while, Liam stopped near a wide clearing, chest heaving, his hair sticking to his forehead. "You're slow today," he teased, though his eyes were kind. Elira tilted her head, eyes narrowing playfully. "I am conserving energy for the important things." "Like what? What promise?" He took a step closer and knelt to her level. "Elira, promise me something first. Promise you will never forget to play with me." Then slowly a bright smile spread across her face. "I will wait," she said simply. Liam laughed again. "Good, but don't wait too long. You have to grow strong too." To forget a promise was unthinkable, and to remember a promise across the years, across space, it was sacred. The sun began to dip behind the purple mountains, casting long shadows across the fields. The forest glowed brighter as the bioluminescent plants began their nightly shimmer. Liam and Elira sat by the river, watching the water reflect the light in 1,000 colors. The laughter had faded, replaced by quiet companionship. "You're going to explore the colony tomorrow, aren't you?" Elira asked softly. "I am," Liam replied. "They want me to see the new laboratories, check the equipment, but I'd rather explore the forests." From humans, from the forest, from the river. But Elira's words felt important, weighty in a way that made his chest tighten. As night fell, the sounds of the forest changed. Strange creatures moved in the shadows, calling to one another in high-pitched tones. The glowing flowers opened wider, bathing the clearing in soft light. Liam and Elira lay back on the grass, staring up at the sky. The stars were different here than on Earth. They seemed closer, larger, almost alive. Liam traced constellations with his finger, telling stories he had learned from old Earth books. Elira listened carefully, fascinated by the strange human myths. "You think the stars have promises too?" she asked quietly. Liam frowned. "I don't know, maybe they do. Maybe that's why we can make promises and remember them." "I will remember this promise too," she said, her voice soft but unwavering. "Even if you forget." Liam grabbed his bag and looked at Elira, who waited silently by the river. "Will you be here when I get back?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "I will," she said simply. "I always wait for the ones I care about." He waved and ran toward the colony, his feet kicking up dust. Elira watched him go, her heart steady. She would remember. She would wait. Years would pass. Humans would expand across the planet, building cities, laboratories, and spacecraft. Liam would grow taller, stronger, braver. He would leave Urindor for exploration missions, encountering wonders and dangers he could not imagine. But Elira's memory would remain unchanged. Every detail of that day, every laugh, every promise was etched into her mind. In her village, she walked among her people with quiet confidence. They noticed her attention often wandered, that she spoke of humans with more knowledge and warmth than expected. She did not explain. She did not need to. Her heart knew the truth, and that truth was enough. Sometimes she would visit the forests near the human settlement in secret. She would watch the humans from afar, learning their ways, understanding their strengths and weaknesses. And always, in the quiet moments, she would remember Liam. the boy who had promised her a future, who had treated her as an equal, who had laughed and played and shared moments of joy that she could never forget. The seasons changed, and with them the forest shifted its colors. The rivers shimmered differently under the alien sun, and the nights grew longer and colder. But the promise remained unbroken. Even as Elira matured, even as she faced challenges within her own community and the wider world, that childhood vow stayed alive within her. She often wondered where Liam was, what he was doing, and whether he thought of her at all, but she never doubted. In her heart, humans were strange and powerful beings, capable of great courage and loyalty. And Liam, above all, had shown her both. One night, under the twin moons of Erendor, Elira stood at the edge of the forest and whispered to the stars, "I will wait. I will remember. And I will find you again, Liam." And in the quiet glow of Erendor's forests, beneath the ancient trees and the sparkling rivers, two hearts were connected by a promise. One had forgotten nothing, and the other would one day remember, in ways neither could yet imagine. The human colony on Erendor buzzed with activity as the morning sun painted the landscape in shades of gold and violet. Liam stood on the landing platform of the colony's shuttle station, his heart heavy with excitement and anxiety. Today, he was leaving for his first long exploration mission. His parents had packed his supplies carefully, checked the navigation charts, and reminded him to stay safe. But none of that mattered as much as the thought of leaving Elira behind. He glanced toward the forest where they had spent so many days together. The glowing trees swayed gently in the wind, and the river reflected the sunlight like a sheet of liquid fire. And there she was, Elira, standing tall, her skin glimmering in the light. Her eyes met his, and for a moment everything else disappeared. "Are you sure you'll be all right?" Liam asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "I am sure," Elira said softly. "I will be fine, and you must go. There is much to see and much to learn." Elira stepped closer, her fingers brushing lightly against his arm. "Promises are not forgotten because of distance," she said quietly. "You promised, and I will remember, and I know you will too." Liam's parents waved from the crowd of settlers, their faces proud but anxious. Liam took one last look at Elira, her eyes shining with a mix of sadness and strength. Then, with a deep breath, he boarded the shuttle. The journey into deep space was both thrilling and lonely. Liam watched the stars streak past the viewport, each one a tiny point of light in the endless darkness. He thought of Elira and the forests of Erendor, the laughter they had shared, and the promise that bound them. Even in the vast emptiness of space, that memory gave him comfort. Days turned into weeks, and Liam explored planets and moons, documenting their environments, cataloging strange creatures, and reporting back to the human colony. He was learning faster than anyone had expected, earning the respect of his fellow explorers. Yet no matter how much he saw, he couldn't shake the thought of Elira. Her promise lingered in his mind, quiet but persistent. Back on Erendor, Elira moved among her Thalian people with a grace that drew attention. She was no longer the small, curious child who had laughed by the river. She had grown taller, stronger, and more confident, her skin now shining with a soft inner light that marked her as mature. She studied humans in secret, learning their ways and trying to understand their strange habits. She practiced mimicry of their gestures, their speech patterns, and even their humor, though she knew it was only for her own understanding. Elira's people watched her with curiosity and some concern. They had never seen a Thalian so fascinated by humans. Some whispered that her loyalty to a human boy was foolish, even dangerous. But Elira did not care. She had seen Liam's courage, his kindness, and the way he treated her as an equal. That was enough. Weeks passed, and Elira continued to grow in skill and wisdom. She learned the ways of the forest, understanding which plants could heal, which rivers were safe to drink from, and which paths led to danger. Her agility and intelligence impressed even the elders of her community. Yet every night, she would find a quiet spot near the river and gaze at the stars. There she would whisper Liam's name, imagining him among the distant lights, wondering if he could hear her in some way. One day, a message arrived from the human colony. Elira watched carefully as the settlers gathered to read the transmission. The colony's leader spoke in a clear, serious voice. "There are signs of a hostile alien race approaching Erendor's orbit. We must prepare for possible conflict. Scouts are reporting strange vessels moving near our outer settlements. Stay vigilant." She clenched her hands, determination settling in her heart. She would wait, yes, but she would also prepare. Days later, a group of human scouts arrived on Erendor, checking the forests and outlying areas. Elira observed them from a distance, her curiosity and concern mixing in equal measure. Among them, she saw Liam's mentor, Captain Harris, a tall, serious man who had trained Liam in the ways of exploration. Elira recognized the signs of experience and strength in him, and she knew Liam would be tested under this mentorship. Time passed slowly. Elira spent her days learning from her elders, exploring the forests and practicing her skills. She learned how to move silently, how to read the signs of approaching creatures, and how to use her natural abilities to her advantage. Her Thalian senses were sharp, and her mind absorbed knowledge quickly. Yet no matter how busy she was, thoughts of Liam filled her quiet moments. She imagined him navigating distant planets, facing challenges, and growing into the man he was meant to be. Then one night, the colony sent a message that changed everything. Scouts had spotted a fleet of unknown ships approaching human settlements on Urindor. Panic and urgency filled the air. Humans and Thalians alike prepared defenses, fortifying positions and organizing patrols. Elira knew Liam would be involved, even though he was far away. She felt a surge of worry, stronger than anything she had felt before. Determined, she decided to act. Though her people questioned her, she ventured closer to the human colony under the cover of darkness. She watched the humans as they worked tirelessly, noting their strategies and movements. She practiced moving among them without being seen, learning their ways as Liam had taught her through example. She did not interfere yet. She only observed, gathering knowledge for the day she might need to help. Meanwhile, Liam's mission continued in the far reaches of space. He faced challenges he had never imagined. Meteor storms that threatened to tear apart his shuttle, planets with extreme climates, and alien creatures whose intentions were unclear. Each obstacle tested his courage and intelligence. He learned quickly, adapting to new environments and making decisions that would save lives. Yet in the quiet moments between crises, he would look up at the stars and think of Urindor. He would remember the river, the forest, and Elira's promise. On one particularly difficult mission, Liam found himself stranded on a planet with an unstable atmosphere. The shuttle's systems were failing, and he had to make quick decisions to survive. He improvised, using the knowledge he had gained from years of training and exploration. Hours passed in tense silence, until finally he managed to stabilize the shuttle and return to orbit. Exhausted, he looked out at the stars and whispered a quiet thought, "I hope you're safe, Elira." Back on Urindor, Elira sensed the subtle disturbances in the human settlements. Her intuition, honed over years of observation and practice, told her that something was wrong. She moved through the forests with purpose, analyzing the signs and predicting outcomes. Though she could not communicate directly with Liam, she prepared for the day they would meet again. She would be ready to help, to guide, and to protect, just as he had once promised her a future together. Weeks turned into months. The approaching fleet was finally detected, and the humans prepared for a possible confrontation. Liam returned to Urindor just in time to assist with the preparations. He was greeted by a bustling colony, full of tension and anticipation. Settlers hurried to their posts, checking defenses and coordinating strategies. Liam felt a strange mix of relief and anxiety. He was back on Urindor, but danger loomed. That night, as the twin moons rose over the forests, Liam walked near the edge of the clearing where he and Elira had played as children. Memories flooded back, the laughter, the games, the promise. And then, through the soft light of the moons, he saw her. Elira stood there, taller and stronger, her silver skin glowing softly. Her eyes met his, and for a moment the world seemed to pause. Liam's heart raced. "Elira," he whispered, barely daring to speak her name. She stepped forward, her expression calm but intense. "You returned," she said simply. I promised," Liam said, finding the words difficult to form. "I promised I would come back." "You kept your promise, as I kept mine." And for the first time since their childhood, they knew that together, they could face whatever the universe had in store. The day dawned on Urindor with a strange quietness, the kind that made the birds stop singing and even the rivers seem slower. Liam stood on a small ridge overlooking the colony, the wind tugging at his hair and his eyes scanning the horizon. Something about the air felt different, charged as if the planet itself was holding its breath. Beside him, Elira moved with silent grace, her luminous skin glowing faintly in the early sunlight. "Do you feel it too?" Liam asked, his voice low, almost a whisper. Elira nodded. "Yes, something is coming, something dangerous." He had returned to the colony expecting calm after months of exploration, but the recent reports of alien fleets near Urindor hinted that the peace might not last. He had faced dangers on distant planets, but this was different. This was a threat not just to humans, but to the Thalians and the fragile peace they had built together. Elira crouched, examining the ground. The patterns in the soil movement, not from humans, not from Thalians. She paused, listening. Her senses, sharper than any humans, caught the subtle vibrations in the forest. They are close. They will observe us before they attack. Captain Harris noticed Liam and gave a brief nod. "You're back," he said. "Good timing. Scouts report strange signals in the outer fields. We believe an alien faction is preparing to enter Urendor's atmosphere. Their ships, their movements. We need intelligence." Her offer was unusual, but her reputation for intelligence and foresight was well known. Finally, one of the senior officers nodded. "Very well, but you two must stay together. This could be dangerous." Elira led the way, guiding Liam through hidden paths and overgrown trails. She moved with the precision of someone who had lived her entire life in harmony with the land, while Liam followed, trusting her judgment completely. They reached a small clearing overlooking the outer fields. From there, they could see the enemy scouts moving silently, their ships glinting in the sun. Liam studied them, noting the shapes, sizes, and patterns of movement. "They are organized," he said. "Not like the random raiders we saw on Series 9. This is coordinated. They will strike there first. If we are unprepared, the humans and Thalians alike will be in danger. But you must trust me completely." Liam's human instincts combined with Elira's Thalian perception created a perfect balance of skill and intuition. Despite the tension, moments of connection and understanding passed between them. Liam glanced at Elira, her eyes focused and unflinching, and felt a surge of admiration. She was more than the girl he had promised to marry as a child. She was a warrior, a strategist, and someone he could trust with his life. They reached the perimeter where the enemy ships had first appeared. Liam took a deep breath. "Ready?" he asked. Elira nodded. "Ready." When a smaller vessel tried to flank them, Liam fired a precise shot, disabling it without destroying the crew. Elira's instructions had allowed him to act without unnecessary violence, a tactic Liam appreciated more than he could express. The larger ships continued their approach. Liam and Elira used the terrain to their advantage, weaving through ridges and valleys, striking only when necessary. Each movement, each decision was a dance of strategy, skill, and trust. By the time the enemy retreated to regroup, Liam and Elira had gained critical intelligence, the fleet's numbers, their weapon types, and their likely targets. Returning to the colony, Liam reported the findings. The human leaders listened intently, impressed by the precision and effectiveness of the reconnaissance. Elira stood beside him, her presence commanding respect without a word. The leaders realized that the combined efforts of human courage and Thalian insight had saved countless lives. Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Liam and Elira returned to the river where they had played as children. The water reflected the colors of the setting sun, and for a moment the world felt at peace again. "You were amazing today," Liam said, his voice filled with admiration. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Humans are resourceful, but together we are stronger. "Do you remember the promise?" Elira asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam looked at her, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "I remember, every day, and I think I understand now what it really meant. It wasn't just about the words. It was about trusting each other, standing together no matter what. That is what promises are for, to hold, to guide, and to protect." What mattered was here, beside the river, with Elira who had waited and remembered, just as he had promised to return. Over the next few days, Liam and Elira worked tirelessly with the colony to prepare for the larger threat. They organized patrols, strengthened defenses, and trained both humans and Thalians in coordinated strategies. Liam's experience in exploration and Elira's intimate knowledge of the land and the enemy's tactics made them an unbeatable team. During one training exercise, a small group of humans accidentally triggered an alarm, and panic began to spread. Elira acted quickly, moving through the crowd, calming them with her presence and guiding them to safety. Liam watched in awe. She was no longer the child he had promised, but a leader in her own right. When the exercise ended, Liam approached her. "You were incredible," he said. "Everyone listened to you, trusted you. He paused, searching for the right words. "I've never been more proud to know you. That is why we work together." Together, humans and Thalians had formed a bond that went beyond words, a bond of trust, loyalty, and shared purpose. Liam placed a hand lightly on Elira's shoulder. "Whatever comes next," he said, "we face it together, just like we promised long ago. Always together." They were allies, friends, and something far deeper. A promise kept, a bond strengthened, and a future waiting to be written together. The morning sky over Urindor was painted in pale gold and violet, but the beauty of the sunrise could not hide the tension gripping the colony. Scouts had reported large alien ships approaching the planet's outer orbit. The humans and Thalians had worked tirelessly to prepare defenses, but even the most careful plans could not remove the anxiety in the air. Liam stood on a ridge, looking down at the colony sprawled below. Beside him, Elira moved silently, her glowing skin reflecting the morning light. "They are coming faster than predicted," Liam said, his voice tight with concern. "Their fleet, it's larger than anything we've seen before." Together, Liam piloted his shuttle, weaving through the thick forest ridges and narrow valleys to intercept the approaching ships, with Elira guiding him from the co-pilot's seat. "Left now," she instructed, her voice calm but firm. "They are attempting a flank. You must cut them off before they reach the colony." The shuttle moved like a bird through the trees, dodging debris and enemy fire. He released a pulse that disabled one of the smaller ships without destroying it, just as Elira had instructed. "Good," she said. "Focus on their formation. Do not attack recklessly." Elira predicted their maneuvers, while Liam used his knowledge of human technology and tactics to counter every move. Together, they managed to delay the alien advance long enough for the colony's defenses to prepare. Below them, humans and Thalians coordinated seamlessly. The humans operated heavy artillery and energy shields, while Thalians moved with agility, climbing trees and cliffs to fire energy bolts with precision. Elira watched closely, directing small groups to cover weak points and prevent casualties. Liam followed her guidance, amazed at her command and clarity even in the chaos of battle. An enemy ship broke through the perimeter, heading directly toward the colony's central area. "That one's going to reach the command center?" Liam shouted. "Not if we work together," Elira said. She directed him toward a narrow canyon where the ship's size would become a disadvantage. "Lead it there. Its larger systems will slow it down. Then we disable it." Hours passed in a blur of action. Liam and Elira moved tirelessly, intercepting enemy ships, protecting humans and Thalians, and coordinating defenses. Each challenge tested their skills, their courage, and their ability to trust one another completely. At one point, a massive alien vessel approached the river where the colony had stored supplies and medical units. "If that ship reaches the river, it will destroy vital resources," Liam said, his jaw set. "We cannot allow it," Elira said. "I will lead the Thalians to the river and protect the supplies. You handle the ship." She directed Thalian defenders, covering weak points, and even managed to redirect some of the alien attacks harmlessly into the forest. Her courage inspired the Thalians around her, many of whom had never witnessed such skill and composure under pressure. Liam engaged the massive ship, weaving through its attacks, dodging energy beams and debris. He analyzed the vessel's weak points, recalling every lesson he had learned during exploration missions. Firing precise pulses at structural joints, he weakened the ship's stability until it could no longer maintain altitude, forcing it to retreat. By the time the sun set, the first wave of attacks had been repelled. The colony was battered, some buildings damaged, but the humans and Thalians had survived intact. Exhausted, Liam landed his shuttle near the command center. Elira was already there, her skin glowing faintly in the evening light, eyes scanning the horizon for further threats. "You were incredible today," Liam said, stepping toward her. His uniform was scorched in places, and his hair stuck to his forehead with sweat, but his expression was full of admiration. "And you," Elira replied, smiling softly. "You guided the fleet through chaos. I have never seen a human adapt so quickly. You were brave, Liam." "I couldn't have done it without you." Liam and Elira trained soldiers, taught civilians how to protect themselves, and developed strategies for coordinated attacks. Every day, they grew more attuned to each other's thinking. Liam anticipated Elira's instructions before she spoke them, and Elira adjusted her plans with Liam's instincts in mind. Their partnership became legendary among both species. One evening, as they rested near the river, Liam spoke quietly. "Do you ever wonder why they attacked us? There are other planets, other colonies. Why Urindor? We show them that unity, courage, and loyalty are stronger than fear." A second wave of alien ships had entered orbit, larger and more organized than before. Liam and Elira exchanged a quick glance. No words were necessary. They knew what they had to do. Together, they piloted their shuttle toward the approaching fleet. The aliens fired immediately, their energy beams slicing through the atmosphere. Liam maneuvered skillfully, weaving between beams while Elira directed precise counterattacks. Every movement was calculated, every decision critical. At one point, an enemy fighter locked onto Liam's shuttle. Elira shouted instructions, guiding him through a narrow canyon. The fighter followed blindly, unable to navigate the tight space, and collided with the canyon wall. Liam exhaled sharply. "Nice work," he said. Elira smiled faintly. "We work as one, that is our strength." Exhausted but victorious, the colony celebrated cautiously, knowing that the enemy could return at any time. As night fell, Liam and Elira returned to the river where they had shared so many childhood memories. The battle had tested their skills, courage, and bond, and they had emerged stronger. The river reflected the silver light of the moons, a calm reminder of the peace they fought to protect. "You saved countless lives today," Liam said quietly, looking at Elira. "Not just humans, Thalians too. I've never seen anyone move and think like that. That is why we can face whatever comes next." That promise, it's not just about childhood. It's about what we do, who we are, and how we face the world together. Humans and Thalians alike were safer because of two hearts bound by a childhood promise and a partnership forged in trust, loyalty, and courage. And as Liam and Elira stood by the river, their hands brushing lightly, they knew that whatever challenges awaited, they would face them together, side by side, stronger than ever before. The stars above twinkled, silent witnesses to their bond, the promise kept, and the courage that would guide them through battles yet to come. The morning on Erendor began with a rare calm. The forest shimmered in golden light, the rivers flowed quietly, and the colony seemed almost peaceful. But Liam knew better. After the battles of the past weeks, they could not afford to be complacent. The enemy fleet had been pushed back, but intelligence reports suggested they would attempt one last strike, a final effort to conquer the planet. Today, everything would be decided. Liam stood at the edge of the central ridge, his eyes scanning the horizon. The humans were ready, the Thalians were ready, and most importantly, he and Elira were ready. Together, they had faced countless challenges, learned to trust one another completely, and forged a bond stronger than fear or distance. Elira joined him, her silver skin glowing softly under the rising sun. She had spent the night walking through the forests, ensuring every defense position was prepared, every Thalian scout aware of their role. Her eyes met Liam's, filled with quiet determination. "Are you ready?" Liam asked. "I am," she replied. "We are ready." Liam climbed into his shuttle while Elira guided him, her voice calm and steady, giving directions and predictions. The battle began. Liam maneuvered the shuttle with skill, dodging energy blasts and weaving through the alien ships. Elira's instructions were precise, predicting enemy patterns and highlighting vulnerabilities. Their teamwork was seamless, a perfect blend of human adaptability and Thalian intuition. Below them, the colony's defenses came alive. Humans fired heavy artillery while Thalians used agility and psychic precision to intercept incoming attacks. The forest became a battlefield, yet Liam and Elira ensured minimal casualties, guiding attacks to avoid harming civilians or wildlife. The enemy fleet was larger than any previous wave. One massive ship separated from the formation, heading directly for the colony's energy core. Liam's heart tightened. If it reached the core, it would destroy power, communications, and defenses, leaving everyone vulnerable. Elira pointed to a narrow canyon near the energy core. "Lead it there. Its size will become a disadvantage. I will coordinate a Thalian strike to disable its engines." The ship shuddered and crashed safely outside the colony perimeter, sparing lives and resources. "Excellent work," Liam said, his voice shaking with relief and admiration. Elira smiled faintly. "We act as one, that is why we survive." Smaller, faster ships darted through the sky, attempting to breach the defenses near the settlement. Liam and Elira reacted instantly. Liam piloted with unmatched skill, while Elira guided attacks, predicting each enemy movement. At one point, a ship fired directly at Liam's shuttle. Elira shouted instructions, guiding him through a narrow canyon with impossibly tight turns. The enemy ship followed, blindly crashing into the canyon wall. Liam exhaled sharply. "That was close," he said, his hands gripping the controls. Elira glanced at him. And we are still standing, that is what matters. The humans and Thalians had survived, their unity stronger than ever. Exhausted but victorious, Liam and Elira returned to the colony, where settlers and warriors alike greeted them with admiration and relief. That evening, the colony held a ceremony. Humans and Thalians gathered together, celebrating their survival and the bond that had protected them. Liam and Elira stood before the crowd, their presence commanding respect without a word. Leaders from both species acknowledged their courage, skill, and leadership. Liam felt a tug at his heart. The child who had made a silly promise by the river years ago had grown into the man standing here today. But he was not alone. Beside him was Elira, who had kept her promise with unwavering loyalty, intelligence, and courage. After the ceremony, the colony quieted, and Liam led Elira to the river where it had all begun. The water glimmered under the twin moons, reflecting the silver light of the stars. For a moment, the world seemed still, and Liam felt the weight of everything that had happened. "Elira," he said softly, "we promised each other a long time ago. I didn't fully understand it then, but now I do. But more than that, I promise now to stand with you, not just as friends, but as partners in life. To honor our bond, our trust, and everything we've built together. Together, we are stronger than anything the universe can throw at us." Humans and Thalians worked together to repair the colony, strengthen defenses, and prepare for a future where cooperation and trust guided every decision. Liam and Elira continued to lead, their bond inspiring everyone around them. They explored the forests together, studied the rivers, and documented the wonders of Urindor, just as they had in their childhood games. But now their adventures had a deeper meaning. They were not just for curiosity or play, but for understanding, unity, and hope. One evening, as they sat by the river, Elira spoke softly. "Do you think other worlds can learn from us?" "They can if humans and Thalians, or any species. Remember that trust, courage, and loyalty are stronger than fear. That's what we proved here. From that first day by the river to now, I am proud to walk this path with you." Fireflies and glowing plants lit the night, reflecting the peace and serenity of a world that had survived because of courage, intelligence, and a bond that could not be broken. Liam and Elira stood, looking out over the colony. They had faced battles, danger, and uncertainty. They had proven themselves not only as individuals, but as a team. And now, at last, they could look forward to a future built on trust, love, and promise. Years later, their story became legend among both humans and Thalians. Children on Urindor would hear of the boy who promised to return and the alien girl who never forgot. They would learn that courage was not just in strength or weapons, but in loyalty, wisdom, and the willingness to protect those you cared about. Liam and Elira often returned to the river, the place where it all began. They would laugh, explore, and share stories, their bond unbroken, their promise fulfilled. And when they looked at the stars, they remembered the journey that had brought them together, the battles they had faced, and the future they had created. A future where humans and Thalians thrived together, and where a simple promise had grown into a lifetime of trust, courage, and love. The galaxy around Urindor was vast and full of wonders. There would always be new challenges, new adventures, and new horizons. But Liam and Elira knew one truth above all. As long as they stood together, no challenge was too great, no journey too long, and no promise too small to hold meaning. And so, beneath the twin moons and the glowing forests of Urindor, two hearts, human and Thalian, stood united. A promise made in childhood had become a lifetime of courage, partnership, and hope. Together, they faced the universe, not as strangers, not as allies alone, but as partners bound by trust, love, and the enduring strength of a vow that neither time nor distance could ever break.